Anybody out there?
And now, live from Manchester,
Hello to you all from the north.
Roger Daltrey, snarling those immortal lines of adolescent angst. Hope I die before I get old. The classic mod call to arms as they shook society to its very foundations by getting on motor scooters and going to Eastbourne for the day. Although, in fact, of course, for all his spitting vitriol, Daltrey was only singing the words put in his mouth by his mate with the real vision, Pete Townsend. In Daltrey's original draft of the lyrics, it said, "Hope I die after many years running a successful trout farm business." And it was Townsend who rewrote the version as we know it. And I think this is appalling. If you're standing up there raging against the narrow-minded complacency of suburban society and railing against the mores of contemporary zeitgeist, you should be speaking from the heart, baring your soul, preaching the truth as you really feel it, not relying on your big nose, mate, to articulate the trauma of... I can't read your writing there, lad.
Let's have a look. That's youth and gubbins.
Oh, yeah. Not relying on your big nose, mate, to articulate the trauma of youth.
And gubbins.
And gubbins.
Yeah. Let's bang a tune on her.
Right, good evening. On tonight's programme, we've got Stuart Maconie, What With Being Stone Deaf and Everything, Isabel from Drugstore, reading from the Chilean cult writer Isabel Allende's Horny Works, and also Mark Kermode is with us tonight. Mark, hang on.
Yep.
Lard,
what?
We've got Stuart and Mark on, so you're going to have to move over to that mic.
What, swap over?
Yeah, you have to swap over.
What, now?
Yeah, go on, swap over. You should do that. Right. Because otherwise it's going to get dead confusing.
Is that all right?
That's better.
Properly,
Yeah, right. Mark Kermode, how are you?
It's not on. Yeah, no, I'm fine. How you going?
Yeah, I'm well.
Can I just say something about that record? Which is
Indeed.
the best thing about that record is the video, which quotes.
No, the best thing about the record
is the record. Yeah. However, it does have a fantastic video which uses the only ever two-part episode of Happy Days, which was the best episode of Happy Days, in which Happy Days fans will remember Fonzie has to jump over 24 trash cans that are arranged outside the diner, and the first episode ended with Fonzie hanging mid-air. And you had to wait an entire week to find out whether he did get over the other end of the trash cans.
And did he?
Well, of course he did. He's Fonzie, yeah.
Right, okay. In fact, and they've superimposed Weezer on the band in Arnie's Snacketeria,
Which is actually
or something.
Richie and his friends wearing all those incredible... I'm thrilled by this.
And in fact, it was dreadful in Happy Days when they had a band, wasn't it? It was really good up to that point when they had a band, and then they had a worse band because Chachi and Joni had a band.
That's right.
which was really
really bad. And then of
Anyway.
course Richie Cunningham grew a beard in order to become a director and direct Backdraft.
And went bald. Indeed. This is very, very boring, but for something much more interesting, let's go over to the man who's making snoring noises, who will now fascinate us with something interesting, Boy-Lard.
That was better than all that about Happy Days, anyway.
I think that's a matter of opinion.
Yes. Can I put out a special appeal as well, very briefly? Which is, I've had 3 letters now from people saying, I Married an Axe Murderer is in fact their favourite cult movie, and I've completely missed this. So here's what I want to know. If you think So I Married an Axe Murderer is a fantastic cult movie and I'm missing something, can you please write in and explain to me what's good about it? And then we'll do it.
Right, okay. Right, lad, I mean, you're obviously desperate to get in snoring and farting noises tonight. I will now give you 15 seconds to get in as many as you can, and then that's your ration for the show. All
Starting
right?
when?
Starting now.
I can't keep it on that long, I kid. It's so hilarious, you know.
1FM, live from the Palace of Glittering Delights in Manchester. And time now to, Stuart's coming on now. You'll have to move. Yeah, hi, Stuart.
Hi, Stuart. Hi, kids. Hi, matey.
Where am I going to
You go there, lad. Move.
Move,
yeah.
Well, where am I going to go?
You'd have to go round here.
That mic?
Yeah, that's a good mic, that.
Shed that mic?
No, it's a good mic.
it?
That's
Oh,
the
all right, then.
that's the one we keep for special guests.
Oh, right, okay. Nice
That's
one.
perfect.
Is that, I'm not going to be headphone on, that sound all right?
It's from Mike's Mics, that one. It sounds
Great.
perfect. Right.
Nice one.
Anyway, Stuart Maconie.
Hello.
How are you?
This seat feels funny.
Ah, well.
Okay.
So, what have you been up to then? What have you been doing that's fascinating?
I've had a bit of plastering work done.
Yes.
Just an upstairs room, plasterboard ceiling.
Oh, just
Colin
straight,
got
not,
involved in
not
no.
decorative.
No, I'm going to paint it later. But just plasterboard.
Sistine Chapel or...
Yeah, it's quite simple. And my mate's got involved in a stall on Ormskirk Market. Is that the kind of thing you meant?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. That's very interesting, that, yeah.
No, I'll tell you what I've done today. I wrote a piece entitled 10 Great Things About Wigan.
That must have been a struggle, must it?
No, see, you say that. Now, the reason I got asked to write this piece is because it's about to do with something. What have you done to this mic? It's something to do with.
All right, we'll freshen it up during the next record.
Thanks. The Verve have got a record out, and because the Verve are from Wigan,
yes,
then automatically one's mind thinks of amusing sidebars about Wigan because some places are just intrinsically funny, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Like, no one ever thinks of doing 10 great things about Nottingham in a Tindersticks feature, because you just don't think that way. But some places I think are just intrinsically funny. And I would know this coming from Wigan, that's one of them. But Neasden. No?
What? Neasden. There was a record about, in the charts. The Willie Rushton had a record, a hit single called Neasden. Well, it was about number 82 or something.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
Oswald Twistle.
Oswald Twistle, that's funny, man.
Grimsby.
That is funny.
Ponty Bodkin.
Yorkshire.
That's funny. Shill Bottle.
Sorry.
Mindlemoid, yeah.
Welly.
Is there a place called Welly?
There's a place near Wigan called Welly.
There's a place in the Lake District called Crackpot. In fact, Lard spent one afternoon. He did. He spent one afternoon looking at a map of the Lake District, finding place names that sounded vaguely rude.
Oh,
there is actually a place called Upper Muff. I swear. And there's also a place called Fulking. Fulking. Fulking Hill in Yorkshire. And if you look through your A to Z of a hill or somewhere in Yorkshire, then you'll find Fulking Hill.
Now, I can vouch, because I'm something of a connoisseur of Lake District place names, and I can vouch for two. There's a place called Pasture Bottom, which you don't think of when you see it on the map. You think it's normal until you can say, hey, if you stand it, I can see right up Pasture Bottom. And that's seriously.
Oh, it's amazing.
There's a mountain called Great Cock Up.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Can I just add to this, Eddie? There's a place in the Isle of Man called Shepherd's Bottom.
Is there? Yeah. And there's a place on the Isle of Wight called Huge Pair of Testicles. Isn't that strange?
No,
1FM, the home of intelligent radio.
No, but this leads me on to something else, because maybe someone can write in.
Yes, I wouldn't have thought so.
Steady. Maybe someone can write in and prove to me two apocryphal place names, not Lard's made up ones, obviously.
Those are true. Those are true.
Fulking Hill, isn't it?
Nice place.
No, someone told me once there's a place in Newcastle called Two Ball Lonnon. Is that anybody back me up on that? Two Ball Lonnon. It sounds like a gangster, doesn't it? No Nose Muldoon. No, apparently there's a place 2-ball Lonnon in Newcastle.
Yeah, but No Nose Muldoon picks out something that's different about him. 2-ball Lonnon would indicate that he'd blend in with most of mankind, wouldn't it? With some exceptions.
It would be like being called Jack Average Height McVitie. Yes. But no, write to me, care of this programme, if you come from
with what?
What do you mean with what? Well, with like a bus ticket that says 2-ball Lonnon on it. Or, someone told me this is more poetic, there's a place in Scotland apparently called Rest and Be Thankful.
Yeah.
No?
Right, no, quite possibly.
Spoiled it now.
Right, so, okay.
Fulking Hill, eh?
Hey, guess what, everybody? Lard's got a hilarious new prop for the show.
What's that, me mic?
Hey, your laughter box.
All right.
Anyway, the Blue Tones actually play that for Joe Taylor of Hailsham in East Sussex, who's actually written in with some small ads. And I mean, this one is just sad. 3 skirts, new, 2 blue, 1 white, £3.50.
£3.50?
Garden Kneeler, new, £4. This one.
What does that mean?
This one, she says, it's not so much sad as a horrific ad. Genuine naturist, male. 31 years, with some health problems, seeks understanding female naturist for friendship.
There's a photo.
Maybe more.
Oh.
Understand. Anyway, so... and Stuart Maconie is still here now with a bit of a magazine roundup then. Sad magazine titles.
Yeah, because Jeff Dolman of Dorridge, which sounds like one of those funny names we were doing before. Dorridge, near Solihull, sent me... Well, actually, he sent you. There's no point lying about this, is there? Sent you a sort of magazine about magazines, which tells you about magazines sort of on the margins of popular publishing, like Stamp magazine, which is... That's all right, you can understand that, but the lead story, penguins on stamps. It's not like the great lost Kurt Cobain interview, is it, somehow? And then there's Teddy Bear Scene. I'll just read you the bump that goes with Teddy Bear Scene. A high-quality magazine showing the diverse range of teddy bears, plus other furry friends. And But among the items it's got furs, patterns, recipes, an auction report. Recipes? What things to make? Food to teddy bear risotto? I don't fancy that at all. There's Dragon magazine. No explanation. I like the... Now, there's loads... Explain this to me. There's a magazine called Quiet Flight International. That's for people who think flights are too noisy, generally.
Perhaps that yogic flying, is it? Which they're now doing on Air Force bases in East Anglia, I believe.
They've
bought them up, haven't they?
Yeah. But Quiet Flight International, £2.50, that'll set you back monthly. Then there's another one, £2.75, Silent Flight.
Oh, well, that's 25 pence better, isn't it?
And that's that's for people who can't even really quiet flights. No, it's got to be noise-free for me, this airline, missus. And there's also Model Helicopter World. Now, you can understand some modelling magazines. Model Helicopter World. And first sentence of the month, a world leader.
Yeah.
Now, why would that be, yeah?
The only one.
Yeah.
The only one.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Wit Wolf in Phobia.
Pardon?
Wit Wolf in Phobia. Well, it doesn't say what that's about. Someone who's got a phobia about wolves during the Whitsun period.
Whitsuntide,
It must be. Wild About Animals. I think we'll pass over that one, don't you? And there's dogs.
Naturist. No, come on.
There's Dogs Monthly and Dogs Today.
For the people who can't wait.
Just can't want that dog today, you know, and it's got a really unattractive picture. One of the, those ones where they're really, what do they call it? They got a big snob.
Nose.
That's it, nose dog. That's what they're called. He's got a thing about nose dogs. And, definitely my favourite, Just Parrots.
What do you mean there's no budgies in there or anything?
No, I don't know.
That's a complete waste of money, if you ask me.
That mic's sounding great.
Is it?
It's really good, lad.
Nice one.
You know when you did that thing before, it reminded me. Laughter. There's nothing so infectious as laughter, is there?
That was the cue for you to turn your instrument on. We'll try that again, shall we?
Do it again, Arkid. I'm not very sharp tonight.
There's nothing as infectious as laughter, is there?
Oh, Blumminack, lad! Is with us tonight. Mark Kermode is with us tonight. They're on the microphones that we usually use for guests, and accordingly, Boy-Lard has moved to an executive microphone just round the corner there, aren't you, our kid?
Quite right and all.
And it's sounding progressively better as the evening wears on, isn't it? Right, so Mark Kermode, cult film of the week is Withnail I. Where did we get up to?
I was about to tell you a lot of interesting trivial stuff about it. What with people being so dedicated to the movie, so I tracked down all this trivial stuff. Shall I tell you?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so here we go. If you don't like the movie and you're not a fan of it, this isn't going to make any sense. I'll switch off for about 2 minutes. The Penrith tea rooms. They're not in Penrith. They're a chemist shop in Stony Stratford in Bucks. And apparently in Penrith, they have a tourist office which constantly gets streams of spotty young adolescent men coming in saying, is there a square here somewhere with a tea room in it? And they have to say, no, actually, it's a chemist shop in Stony Stratford. And people then go to Stratford and go and slam the table and say, we want the finest wines known to humanity in a chemist shop. The cottage where they hole up is in a place called Waftwater, and it's owned by the North West Water Board, who now officially refuse to give out the address of it, so we can't tell you where it is.
What?
It's Wastwater.
It's Wastwater,
yeah.
It's got an F.
It must be a misprint. It's Wastwater.
Well, there we are.
In Old English,
England's Deepisht Lake.
Well, that's where it is.
Thank you, Stuart.
And their official reason for not giving out the address now is because, quote, these people come up looking like New Age travellers and go berserk.
Oh, scruffy gets.
So, other interesting stuff which I thought was absolutely thrilling. Richard E. Grant, he doesn't drink or smoke at all. So, despite the fact that he has to drink and smoke his way through the whole movie, he doesn't actually really drink or smoke, which leads us on to a practice of some of the cult followers of the movie, which you mentioned yourself, which is the fantic Withnail I drinking game. Over to you.
Oh, well.
He'd been trying it already, the way he tried to describe Wastwater.
The Withnail I drinking game, as far as I understand it, is you get your mates in and you get also a copy of Withnail I and stick it in the video and you attempt to match them drink for drink, which I think, as you're going to say, this is sort of a bit of a double act now, isn't it? I think you're going to tell what the drinks are, aren't
Which
you?
includes...
Rubbish Arkid, aren't they?
Thank
you. Rubbish.
They'll never make it as a double act, will they?
Quadruple whiskies.
Because they haven't got timing.
2 pints of cider.
Timing.
It's quadruple whiskies, 2 pints of cider with ice. You have to have ice in your cider. 2 bottles of red wine, half bottle of red sherry, and then you get onto the lighter fuel and everybody dies. But apparently people do play this game of trying to drink their way through the movie, and the advice is don't. It's really stupid. The stuff they're drinking in the movie is not actually alcohol. You will die.
Hey kids, don't try it at home. Go to Wastwater.
Other interesting things.
English Deepisht Lake.
And the North West Thames Water Authority. Other interesting stuff about it, there is a scene in the movie in which Richard E. Grant is refused an audition for a coffee commercial. Richard Richard E. Grant was known only before for having been the guy in the Schweppes advert with the dogs. And Bruce Robinson, in the meantime, was actually in a coffee commercial in 1971, in which he's seen in a car with a very, very sort of flashy-looking girl, but he didn't have any money, so he had to go home on the bus. And finally, train spotters will be absolutely thrilled to know that in the scene in which they are driving down the M25 in order to get to the place that they're going to, that piece of the M25 that they're on didn't exist in 1969. It was only opened in January 1970, so it's a factual inaccuracy. And finally, a thrilling message to all the fans. These are people who are devoted to the movie, from Richard himself.
I want you here, and I want you now. I want the finest fans available to humanity. And we want them here, and we want them now. We're going to put a jukebox in here to liven all your up a bit.
There you are, Richard E. Grant's message to the fans. And I think we'll do competition time a little bit later.
I think so.
But I think it's a round of applause for Mark Kermode, who has the job. He's got to plough on, trying to tell people something interesting that will improve their lives, while the rest of us sit round jibing in with smart-ass remarks. And so... that'll do. Well, there you go. Do you remember Magpie Boy-Lard?
It wasn't as good as Blue Peter, was it?
Yeah.
And that's a better tune as well, wasn't it?
That is a much better tune.
Ah, no. Do Blue Peter without going into the Sailor's Hornpipe. Somebody.
No.
Oh.
No.
Mark Kermode, you've got an interesting story about XTC on Magpie, haven't you?
No.
Oh, Stuart, you have.
Have I?
No, it's not interesting, but he did have a story.
He did have
about
a story. He's bottling out now just because, yeah.
I've no idea what you're talking. Give me the bones of the story.
About a T-shirt.
Oh, no, it's a big fat Welshman that we know called Russ.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh, thanks. You got me mixed up with your fat Welshman. Cheers, lads.
Sorry, Russ.
Oh, you did, yes, right. Anyway, competition time.
Oh, yes, to win a copy to Withnail I. Can I just say that I think the most interesting thing about Withnail I, at the end, the critical thing, is it any good or isn't it? And I know that a lot of people in the studio don't like it. My feeling about it is that it's absolutely conclusive proof that being a drunken, out-of-work student is only funny if, in fact, you are a sober, in-work actor. And I said at the beginning, I think the funniest thing about the movie is Richard E. Grant. It's conclusive proof that if you want to make that kind of thing funny, you actually have to be a very hard-working and reputable guy. So, there we are.
Okay. Well, I mean...
I've finished my moral lesson now, haven't I?
Well, I think, you know, that around this table there's sort of varying degrees of like, not bothered, and yeah, it's all right, isn't it? There's sort of the critical appraisal of it around this room, apart from you.
I think it's a really great film, but I think the idea of horrible, loudmouth, drunken gits playing along to it is irritating. However, if you're not one
Perhaps
of those...
it's too near to the truth if you live in our house.
Hi, Mark.
Yes.
I sympathise with the tea shop proprietor when I see that scene. They come in and messing up his business. It's his livelihood.
Oh, you're on the
Of course I am. Waft Water's a hard place to go to live in.
And actually, Glitch Lake, isn't it? Right, okay then. Let's have competition time. And which way do we do this?
Okay, so what we'll do copies of Withnail I. Very, very simple. Fingers on the buzzers. In the most famous scene in the movie, in which they drive down... You're going to do the fingers on the buzzers gag now, aren't you?
That one very good. Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
That's better.
Do it again.
Okay, so hang on, we set it up. So, the Withnail I competition, fingers on the buzzers.
I got that one. Carry on.
In the most famous scene in the movie, they are herring down the M25 in a section which wasn't built in 1969 in a Jaguar. Which famous rock tune is playing on the radio as they head down the M25 in their Jaguar? Answers on a postcard to We Hate Drunken, Boring, Out-of-Work Actors.
Fingers on the buzzers. BBC Radio 1FM, Oxford Road, Manchester, M61SJ. And copies of Withnail I. Last week's competition,
which was in order to win copies of The Devils, a seedy, horrible, nasty grunge fest directed by Ken Russell, which we love. What we wanted to know was who was the person who was in the nude wrestling scene in... Oh, this is all over. Who was the person who was in the nude wrestling scene with Oliver Reed in Women in Love? Giant Haystacks, thank you. And the answer was, I'm going to get through this, I really am.
And Melvin Bragg's doing this show next week, I believe.
I'm on Start the Week on Monday.
Are you?
Yes.
Well, this is very good practice, isn't it?
Yes. It's going to be worse than this.
Melvin, you want to see Melvin when he gets started with the drum pads? Oh, yes, and on this morning we've got Rabbi Lionel Blue. Ho-ho, yes, I should say so. Right, go on then, our kid. What's that you're saying about something?
Okay, whose Willie was it? The answer was it was Alan Bates. Winners are Jenny Tully from somewhere, Jerry Andrews from Northants, and NJ Parish from Leigh-on-Sea, who says, P.S. I am not overly squeamish, but please disregard my entry if the video features the young Tony Slattery. You'll all be getting copies of The Devils, and you're all over 18. Meanwhile, if you're over 15, you want to win a copy of Withnail I. What's the name of the song? With fingers on the buzzers, which is playing on the Jaguar sound system as they head down the M25. Mark your entry. We hate drunken out-of-work student stroke actors, and send it to...
Fingers on the buzzers. BBC Radio 1FM, Oxford Road, Manchester M60, 1SJ. You're listening to Start the Week on Radio 4. Right. In fact, at the starting point of this show, you said you were doing an article on 10 interesting things about Wigan.
Great things or interesting things. Go on.
Honestly, that was about, an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
And we now come back full circle because you never actually said any of them. Or are you saving that for the article?
I can tell you what some of them are.
Go on, then.
Pies.
Pies.
Uncle Joe's Mint Balls.
Yes.
Wigan Casino.
Yes.
Private Sponge out of Dad's Army.
Why, was he from Wigan?
He was a bloke called Colin Bean, and for a long time was Wigan's only celebrity. So every fete in Wigan was opened by, in inverted commas, Colin Bean, TV's Private Sponge.
And he's the one who never said anything.
And Roy Kinnear's from Wigan, you say. So I always thought Roy Kinnear must have thought, how bloody hell's this bloke of Dad's Army more famous than me? But you never know.
Are you?
I'm not good. Kinnear.
That's more or less it for tonight. Now, Stuart, you're coming back on Thursday because we're going to do the Small Lads special. And also on that night we will have Molly Halfhead playing a live acoustic session type thing, won't we?
Yeah, all right.
Are you going to be there?
I've not made my mind up yet.
And tomorrow night on the programme, it's Sean Locke and also the...
Rolling Stones today!
Lynn Parsons is next. I hope she wasn't planning to start a show with Toadstool Soup, or else we've knackered her up, haven't we?
I bet she was.
So Susan Stranks and Andy Partridge are wrestling about naked on the Magpie studio floor.
All right.
And Andy Partridge...
Deepisht like an English. I hope Lynn wasn't planning to start her show with a farty sound, lad.
I'm sure she was. I hope she wasn't planning to start the show with a crap noise like that, kid.
Lynn Parsons is next.
Mark Radcliffe, missing you already.